here on Zoom. And we are also live broadcasting on YouTube per usual. So a big hello to everyone on YouTube and to all of you jumping in on Zoom. I am delighted to be here today again with you. Thank you for taking your time this evening to spend an hour with us to talk about how you can tell your story to admissions officers. 안녕하세요. 오늘 Tuesday Talks에 오신 것을 환영합니다. 오늘은 특별한 날이고 특별히 이제 대학교 입학서에 대해서 우리 사장관들이 더 자세하게 같이 얘기를 나눌 겁니다. I know that a lot of you are well into your summer break, so I hope you're all enjoying some time off school. I know that many of you are also trying to figure out what to do during this summer, which looks very different from other summers with COVID, and a lot of changes are happening. And some of you may have seen the recent news with US Immigration and Customs Enforcement announcing that it will be difficult for F1 visa students to stay in the US with online courses only. But I want to just reiterate right from the get-go that all of us here at Initial View and all the institutions that are on this panel are also very concerned about this move, and that we are here for you, that we want you all here in the US and studying. So just wanted to make that known, that we are feeling your pain and wanting to solve this together. So just want you to know that there is hopefully hope, and that part of it is we want to help you get into these universities by helping you know how to tell your story to admissions officers. So I'm pleased to be here this evening with wonderful colleagues from Dickinson College, Mount Holyoke, Union College, and the University of Richmond. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Xue at Dickinson to introduce herself, and we will open it up at the end with questions and answers at the very end of the presentation. All right, take it away, Xue.
All right, thank you. Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Xue Yan. I am the Assistant Director of International Missions at Dickinson College. Dickinson College is located in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, in central Pennsylvania. We are in the capital area, so we are not too far away from the state capital, Harrisburg. We're also very close to big cities such as Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., and New York City. Dickinson was founded in 1773, September 9th, just 6 days after Treaty of Paris was signed. So that makes Dickinson College the first college in the new America. Dickinson is known for providing a global and sustainable education. We are known for providing very extensive global study abroad programs in over 50 locations around the world. We're also the only college in the US that has won the Simon Comprehensive Internationalization Award twice. As for sustainability, we have been consistently ranked top 3 in the nation for campus sustainability. We have a sustainable and organic college farm on campus, not too far away. And earlier this year, we also have reached our goal to become carbon neutral for the entire campus. Our alumni are very successful after graduation. They usually have done an internship or some research experience before graduation. Perhaps one of the more famous alum in the South Korea is our 2018 Miss Korea Sun-Min Kim. Sun-Min graduated from Dickinson College in 2018 with a double major in international business and management and Chinese. So if you want to know more about her journey and her story at Dickinson, feel free to go to our website and search for Sun-Min Kim or Miss Korea to learn more about her. So that's a little bit about Dickinson College.
Good evening. I'm Amy Markham, and I am the Director of International Admission at Mount Holyoke College, and it's really a pleasure to be with you. My first trip to South Korea was in 1991, and I've probably been there about a dozen times. So I really enjoy your food and your country, and look forward to being back. Mount Holyoke is a college for women that is the oldest of the Seven Sisters, which is a collection of colleges that were established in the 1800s as a counterpart to the Ivy League, which at the time was not available for women's studies. So it was trying to provide a high caliber educational opportunity for women who were shut out of that level of education. So we were founded in 1837, and we are located in the northeastern part of the United States in Massachusetts, about an hour and a half from Boston and 3 hours from New York City. And we have a very diverse student population. Almost every US state is represented, about 70 different countries around the world, and we have about 25% international students. We have 51 majors and minors, and we are part of the 5-college consortium, which includes the University of Massachusetts, Amherst College, Hampshire College, and Smith College, which really gives our students an opportunity to combine everything that Mount Holyoke has with also an experience that gives them access to coeducation and to a large university setting, because our students can take up to 50% of their courses at one of the other colleges and universities in the consortium. There's also over 700 clubs and activities that are available across the 5 colleges, and we have a free bus that connects the campuses. Mount Holyoke is also really known for very rich traditions and a very strong and connected alumni network. And so that's something that can really benefit you throughout your life. And finally, I just want to mention that my colleague Annie Sullivan is the person on our staff who works most closely with students from South Korea, but she's on vacation, but some of you will get to know her in the coming weeks and months.
Great, thank you. My name is Amanda Gerhardt. I'm Senior Assistant Director of Admission at the University of Richmond. Like my colleagues, I represent a small liberal arts and sciences college in the United States, but the University of Richmond is going to be the largest university represented today. So we have 3,000 undergraduate students, which makes us a large, small school. But our class sizes are still maintained at a very small level. So students have those very close personal interactions with both their faculty and their peers. As far as our location, we are located on the East Coast of the United States in Richmond, Virginia. And Richmond is the capital city of Virginia. While we're located in the capital city, allowing for really robust culture for our students, lots of internship and job opportunities, we are not an urban campus. So you can see in the bottom left there, a picture of our very green, very walkable, safe suburban campus, which allows, again, for our students to really build that nice sense of home. With regard to our programs, we offer a number of different majors that are housed within 3 different schools. We have our traditional liberal arts and sciences programs in our School of Arts and Sciences. We do also have a School of Business where students can major from anything from accounting to international business to marketing, as well as a School of Leadership Studies. Our School of Leadership Studies is the first of its kind in the United States. It's a highly multidisciplinary program for students that want to build those soft skills that are the foundation of leadership. It allows our students to look at what leadership was, what it is today, and also project the future of leadership to be prepared for disciplines and a career across multiple different fields. So our programs are very hands-on. We're really encouraging hands-on learning, and we do so through our Richmond Guarantee. The Richmond Guarantee is a promise that every single student on our campus is going to receive up to $4,000 US to complete a summer research or internship opportunity. So at Richmond, where we have a top-rated career services program, we really are all about opening doors. Whatever door you want open to you, whatever experience you want to be able to try, we want to facilitate that with our resources and with our connections.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nicole Bensley, and I'm from Union College. Upstate New York is where we're located. So not New York City, but near Albany, which is the capital of New York State. Schenectady is our small city that we're located in. It's about 20 minutes from Albany International Airport, and a city of about 75,000 people. So a safe community, but a community that allows you opportunity both for connection of internships, connection for opportunities for volunteering, and also the access to our state capital in Albany for opportunities as well. Union was founded in 1795, and as you may have guessed from its title, Union really is striving to bring together people from various backgrounds together in union. At that time, they really spoke a lot about bringing people from different religious backgrounds together to meet and learn together and grow together. And now in today's current world, we're talking about bringing people from across the world and across the country to really learn and share together. Our vision statement at Union really talks about developing every student to lead with wisdom, empathy, and courage in ways large and small, now and across multiple tomorrows. And it's that multiple tomorrows piece that I really think talks very closely about what Union does. So we not only prepare you for the first job that you're going to have after college, but every possible job in your future. And the way that we do this is not only having our students in one specific major of our 58 different majors, but allowing our students to double major and work across disciplines, even if they're not double majoring. So we're talking about integration of disciplines. If you're an engineering student, you may still be taking anthropology classes if that's something you're interested in, and working with both of those professors in a class to research something that's very applicable to what you want to do in the future. Research is a big part of our campus. We take our students from doing what they're doing in the classroom and make sure that they know how to use what they're learning in the research setting. So all of our students complete both a sophomore seminar and a senior research piece, but many of our students will do research for all 4 years while they're at Union. Now, the campus is a liberal arts and science institution of 2,200 students, but one of the unique things is that we do have quite a lot of opportunities for our students in science, technology, engineering, and math, including multiple majors in engineering. And when our students complete in their engineering program, they are actually ABET certified to work as engineers. But for all of our students, what this means is really state-of-the-art facilities, whether you're in psychology and you're researching people and humans, or you're in the theater department and you are interested in performing, our facilities really are the best in terms of an undergraduate institution having facilities that look very much like a large Research One institution. Because we're a trimester system, our students have the ability to sit down 50% more than at a semester school with their advisor. And that really is just the beginning of how our campus hallmarks the connection between students and professors. So students sitting down one-on-one often with their professors, whether it's in class, in research, for lunch, but just really the opportunity to be mentored by, to learn from, and to work with our professors. In terms of after their time at Union, our students have success both in being placed in OPT and opportunities for work before going on to grad school or going directly on to work, whether in the United States or around the world. So at Union, we talk about the few hallmarks of bringing people together in Union as a community of joy. We talk about the integration between disciplines and the ability for students to make the connection of what's happening in the classroom to success in their future, whether it's through internships or research. So I'll just leave it there. Thank you.
All right, so as we look ahead to our presentation, diving a little bit deeper into some of the specifics of telling your story to college admissions officials. So we know that this is not the summer that you had planned. This was not going to be the senior year that you had planned or the junior year that you had planned, but we want you to know that we're here to answer your questions. You will have questions today. We're happy to answer as many as we can, and we know that you'll have questions in the future. But one of the huge benefits of applying to a liberal arts and sciences college and our small communities is that that community begins today. We are here to guide you on your journey, and that starts today. And so if you have any follow-up questions, you'll have our contact information. We'll be able to provide you with more guidance on this journey that you're going through. We work really closely in collaboration with your college officials to make sure we get to hear you, we get to know you, so that when we're making our decisions, we know that we have gotten a good sense of the student that you can be and become on our campuses. So please know that we support you and that we're happy to answer your questions today.
And I just want to jump in quickly and pick up on what Jung-Rock mentioned at the beginning about the announcement that was new to all of us just really a matter of hours ago, yesterday. And that is about Immigration and Customs Enforcement saying that if students are, non-US citizens are studying in the United States and things move to online courses, that they will not be able to stay in the country. And that is really, we understand, not only jarring for you, it's jarring for us as well. I think all of our campuses took real pride in the fact that we were able to accommodate the various needs of our international students when the virus hit the United States in the spring. And many of us had large numbers of international students staying on campus because that was the best thing for them. And we want to continue being able to work with you regardless of the situation. So we're going to have to get a little bit creative about this, but the reality is that there are lots of unknowns that we just don't know right now. But the news that came out yesterday is really not indicative of the values of the colleges and universities that you're looking at. And I think we all just hope that there will be some changes coming up in the near future that will make some of this uncertainty and these types of announcements become a thing of the past. So we just wanted to recognize that. And I want to turn it back over to the regular portion of the presentation now so that Shaw can talk to you about the role of testing in the admission process.
Thank you, Amy. And looking forward, right, for your students right now looking into application for this coming fall, one of the things you might notice that many colleges have decided to be test optional this year. So maybe they are only test optional for this year. Maybe colleges have been test optional for a long time. What that means is that test optional means you do not have to submit your ACT or SAT score. That does not waive your English proficiency test, unfortunately, automatically. You still have to look into the school website and look for if they are still requiring you to submit IELTS or TOEFL or Duolingo test. So what that means that you have many options now, right? You can look into different colleges. They might be more flexible this year. So that is a bit of a good news for all of you. And I want to recommend all of you, if you are going to be test optional when you're applying to different colleges, make sure you are building other parts of the application stronger, because we are going to look more closely on the other parts of the application, such as your transcripts, your activities, your essay, which we'll all talk a little bit more later today. So make sure the entire application is still very strong, even without the standardized test scores. And you might wonder, how do I make my application stronger now without a standardized test? One of the really good ways to do that is to do the interview, such as an interview, for example, or you can directly contact the school counselor in the college or alumni of the college to schedule an interview with them as well. Doing an interview is a great way for you to really showcase your interest for that school, but also other parts of you that really makes you unique. Maybe that is your interest for traveling. Maybe because you love hiking, maybe that is your sense of humor. So anything that makes you unique and make you stand out, that is a great way to do is the interview. So I strongly recommend all of you to look into the interview as an option when you apply to all colleges. And that is, again, a very good way for you to showcase how unique you are.
So colleges and universities also want an opportunity, of course, to showcase themselves. When we talk about fit, we want to make sure that fit is applicable both ways. So of course that the university has all of the programs, the opportunities, the activities that you're looking for as well. And universities and colleges in the US have worked very, very robustly to create these programs to allow you to connect with us virtually. So we have all of these different types of opportunities, whether it be virtual tours, opportunities to sit down one-on-one with current students, admission officers, alums of the institution, department-specific webinars if you have questions about our particular majors and programs, and so much more beyond this. And getting to know us serves a dual purpose because, of course, you get to understand what our universities have to offer if it's a place that you can see becoming your home for the next 4 years, but it also serves as this tool called demonstrated interest. And colleges and universities in the US use demonstrated interest to varying degrees, but essentially this is an opportunity for you to say, I am genuinely interested in your institution. I can genuinely see myself enrolling at your institution if I'm given that opportunity. So using these virtual opportunities to engage meaningfully with institutions where perhaps you're asking questions throughout the opportunity, perhaps you're following up directly with an admission officer or with a student that conducted the program to get to know them better and ask follow-up questions. So there are many different ways to show this is a place that I can really see myself enrolling. Beyond that, the other way to demonstrate interest, of course, is through applying early decision. So this may be a plan that you're familiar with. It is a binding application plan where you commit to the university, you submit a contract, your parent submits a contract, your school counselor submits a contract, all saying that if you're admitted under this program, that you're going to happily enroll at that institution. And while we 4 institutions have different ways of looking at demonstrated interest, we can all agree that applying early decision is the purest form of demonstrated interest and definitely something that we look at.
And another thing that is different this year when you're looking into your common application in the future is that there is an additional optional COVID section on your common application. So this is a designated space for you to share any information that is related to COVID. So any way in your life that has been impacted by COVID, maybe it is your academic life, high school graduation, your courses, your health concerns, well-being, family circumstances, anything that has any connection to COVID that has been impacted by COVID, this is your place, right? This is under additional information section. You can find that under the additional information section, and then you find that as a COVID section. So this is, again, the perfect place for you to share that information with admissions counselors, with Office of Financial Aid as well. My advice for you is that make sure you keep the COVID info in the COVID section. We still want to read a typical college essay, your application essay, because we still want to know your interests, your journey, and what is important to you from your essay. We still want to read your activities. We want to know what is important to you. How are you involved at school, and what do you want to maybe doing when you get to college campus? So make sure you only keep the COVID info in the COVID section. So the entire application is not about COVID. The application should be about you. This is your application to your college. This is your journey. So make sure you still share other information about you, just equally as important in other parts of the application.
Great. But as a small caveat to everything that Xue just shared is that the COVID question on the application is small. So it does limit you to 250 words that you can share about your COVID experience. So we wanted to provide you with some kind of solid guidelines on what information that you can be sharing and what information is most appropriate coming from your college counselor or school official. So fortunately, the school official also has a COVID section on the school report, which is the document that they share with information about your grading scale, etc. And so there's information that the school official can share with us that's probably best appropriate and that is shared by them. So this is going to be information that's affected your class as a whole, it's affected your school as a whole, or perhaps your course selection. So anything about changes to moving to remote learning would be best appropriate from a school official, since it has impacted your entire community. Updates to your school calendar, restrictions to the classes that you've been able to select from. All of these things that come at a higher level are best shared by your school official. So to Shiv's point, reiterating that anything that has impacted you directly, whether it be personal, changes to your extracurricular commitments, these are things then that are going to be best shared in your COVID section on the application itself.
And now we're going to talk a little bit about the activity section. And I know that this can be one of those sort of puzzling parts of the process for international students applying to the United States, especially when they come from countries that university entry is very exam driven. So it can be confusing as to why we really care about what you do outside the classroom. But we really are bringing you to a community. All of our campuses are places of very interconnected people and lots of collaboration. So this is a chance for us to get to know you a little bit more and for you to showcase some of your talents and your special interests. So it's important in the activities section that you list your activities in the order of their importance to you, not in the order that you think will sound most impressive to us, because we're trying to see what you really care about. So if you put something at the top of the list that you did once for maybe 20 hours last year, and then farther down on the list are the things that you really love, but maybe they don't sound so important or so weighty in what they're about, it's just going to look strange to us. So please put them in the order of the importance to you. It helps us evaluate more. And keep in mind that you have a limited amount of space to convey information about yourself in the activities section. So you really want to make your words count. You want the description title of whatever the activity is to be very clear. And you need to think about whether someone who doesn't go to your school or doesn't live in your country, are they going to be able to understand what it is based on the words that you use? So you need to be strategic there. You also want to use the area, actually that's the title area, but the description area underneath it, you have 150 characters to work with. So that's where you really kind of want to show your impact and your dedication to whatever that activity has been. So we're looking for your growth and initiative there. Next slide, please. So here, we're really talking about a number of things that are really kind of interconnected. So we talked about listing things in order of importance to you, but the next four are all related. They're ways for you to show maybe you got started in an organization at one level, but you've grown in how much you contribute to it, the role that you play, the impact that you've had. And so we really want to see if you can quantify what you've done or if you can show the exact outcome of what it is that you've brought to this particular organization. And keep in mind that leadership doesn't always come with titles. So maybe you're not the president of the organization, but you might be part of some kind of a group where actually you're one of the people who gets the most work done. So you can say that you were responsible for a certain achievement of that organization, even if you don't have a title behind what your contribution is. It's also really important to proofread things. And I think that's particularly true when you're writing not in your native language, because sometimes it's harder to pick up little mistakes like the ones that you see in the example in the final box in that slide. So those are things that aren't necessarily going to keep you from being admitted, but they can kind of hamper the presentation of your application. So just proofread very carefully. Next slide, please. So here we have a couple of examples of things that people have put on their applications. And we're showing you some things that have been successful. Remember, I talked just a minute ago about showing the impact or the outcome of what you've done. So the two with the check marks really kind of capture quite nicely what it was that happened, how this was meaningful, how it accomplished something that was important to the student. Whereas the last one, what I like about it is the student did this throughout high school, so it showed some dedication and some follow through. But this one kind of missed an opportunity because the activity, track and field, is something that is quantifiable. So this person seems to have been a pretty good athlete, but didn't let us know how fast she ran. And that's something, if you're a swimmer, if you are a track athlete, if you throw the discus, if you have done Trinity music certifications, put in the measurable things that show how good you are at it. That does make a difference to us. Next slide. These are a couple of examples of things that didn't work so well. So the first one, it was one that we read last year in my office, supported an injured friend. Well, I would say this is just something that any caring human being should do. So it's really not an extracurricular activity. It's something that just, this was a good person who saw somebody in need and helped out. So that really doesn't belong on this application. We assume that you're a caring person. The next one, writer and planner. A to-do list, that's an organizational skill. That's not an activity. Just like note-taking in class is not an activity. It's something that you have to do, but it's not something that you're really passionate about or that there's an organization for doing that. So if you find yourself thinking that, trying very hard to think about what you're going to put on your activity list, and you're coming up with things that aren't really of your own free will. They're things that you have to do. They're assignments that you were given in class. They don't belong on your list. So don't feel like you need to fill up all 10 spaces. We just want to know, maybe there's 2 things that you really care about and you've been deeply involved in. That's fine. But if you feel like you're trying to invent things, they don't belong. So I'm going to stop there and turn it over to Nicole, who's going to talk to you a little bit about your essay.
Hi, everyone. So I hope so far you are having a good time learning a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit now about essay writing, as Amy said. So one thing you should know about me is I have twin 12-year-old daughters who love animated films, and as do I. And so I have a lot of little, scenes that I use going forward from some of our favorite animated films. This one, Spies in Disguise, if you haven't seen yet, it's amazing. My kids also love K-pop, so we definitely are all in here. I don't have any of that worked into the presentation though. So with essay writing, a lot of times when we start talking about essay writing, people go, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? So John Rock, if you want to go to the next slide, we're going to fly through these a little bit. A lot of people start with this, our common application prompts or a prompt from a college or university. And that's an okay place to start, to look at the questions that the common application is prompting you with and think about how you want to answer them. But what I would have you do is then look at the red words that are popping out here. So talking about what's meaningful to you, what you learned, what you're thinking, what your personal importance is. Jungrak, if you could go to the next slide. And, looking more at your personal importance, personal growth, captivate you. So all of these questions, what we're highlighting is not really what the question is, but what the essence of what we're getting at, which is the next slide. What's the purpose of the essay? Next slide. It is to give us the opportunity to tell us about you. So what we want to know from all of those crazy questions is not really the answer to the question, but we want you to personalize your application. We want to know a little bit about how you write, but we really want to learn about you through your ambitions, your life, your interests or experiences, but we want to learn about you. So the next slide tells us that what we're looking for is not the topic, but how you write, what you reveal about yourself, and what we can learn about you, which is then a big question. Who am I? Finding Nemo, another great movie. So who am I? That's a difficult question for most of us, even adults, to answer. So at the age of 17 or 18, that also can be a tricky question to answer. Who am I? So the next slides, we're going to kind of talk through some ways to get at how who I am can be reflected in your essay. So this is another great movie, Inside Out. I love, love, love the concept shown here, which is inside a young girl's brain and showing her different personality islands, right? So within each of us, we have these things that are sort of important to our personality. And in this case, she has family island, she has friendship island, she has hockey island, and she has fun island. So these islands really build out pieces of her or her personality to tell us a little bit more about what are the core pieces of her, the core sort of essential things of who she is. Now, when you're using or thinking about your personality islands, what you can do is use some memories to tie together either one of those islands or to tell me deeply about that island. So you can talk about fun island or you can talk about family island through a specific memory. So one way to kind of think about your personality islands is to kind of go through, and as it says here, this comes from the college essay guy. He does some cool activities on his website, but make a list of 21 details from your life that's interesting facts, right? Just random details that have nothing to do with anything. And that can help you get at maybe a theme of what one of your personality islands is. It also can generate some ideas. You can dig into one of those particular topics to write about, interesting facts to write about in your essay, or you can weave those interesting facts together through one particular island. So for example, here I talk about my love of the beach. I talk about all of the cousins I grew up with. I could pull together through my family island many little quirky fun facts to tell you a little bit more about me. And that would be a good way to sort of dive into who I am within my essay in a very specific and meaningful way that's specific to me. It could be written by a person next to me. It's details that are specific to my life and my personal experience. So the other thing that you can do that can be kind of fun to get to the question of who am I is this questions or objects exercise. So listing a bunch of crazy objects that you think of when you think of you, right? And the questions here sort of list out what are the possibilities of things that you could question yourself, like what's your favorite food? What's something that you really love from your childhood? So if you go to the next slide, the objects essay really can give you objects to bring out. Like I have, a serious love of Starbucks when I travel, and it's bizarre because I don't drink Starbucks in the United States, but what does that mean, right? And how can I build that out? I can talk a little bit about my grandmother's pickled herring recipe and how that really brings forward, sort of my connection to family and history and who I am today. So picking out a particular object can guide you through your essay as well by just picking one thing out and focusing on that. The other thing other theme or way that students get to their essay is this challenges essay. So picking a particular challenge that they faced and talking about that challenge. I would say that this is probably the most difficult essay for students to execute well. So everything we're talking about here, all of the little exercises I gave you to think about, those are ways to get very specific to your personal experiences. And challenge essays are really often done in a way that there was this problem and I came in and I saved the day or I won the game. And so they can feel very common or formulaic when a student hits a challenge. The way that you can make it specific to you is to kind of go through what this chart has here. So not just what was the challenge and what you did and the outcome, but what were the effects of that challenge on you? What were your feelings through that challenge? What did you need? What about it did you do? And what did you learn? So things, again, going a little more specifically to your experience rather than just an overview of the challenge will allow us to get to know you a little bit more rather than just being an essay that we read pretty commonly. So I would say tread carefully with the challenge essay, knowing that we read them often and they can sound somewhat similar if you're not careful to bring them closer to who you are. So in the end, what we're talking about is what is your story? So make sure when you read it and you're writing your essay, you're talking about what your story is. And a good way to do that, again, thinking about how you're writing is to show, not tell your story. So I always say, I want to smell, taste, feel, experience, hear what you're talking about in your essay. So use specific nouns and verbs to describe what you're doing in your essay. Think about using all of your senses, like I just said. Don't use too many adjectives or adverbs. Really just make sure it kind of sounds very much like you, and just engage me in the experience that you're having. The last slide that I have here is just a few more tips. Some of them are similar to what you saw for activities. So don't repeat what you have in other parts of your application in your essay. If you've talked about activities elsewhere, if you've talked about an experience in some other part of your application, your essay should sort of be this sweet little window into you that's new and refreshing, different than maybe what we've experienced in the rest of your application. Make sure you show the outcomes and are addressing the prompt if you're choosing a prompt to talk about. Be authentic and don't try too hard, and proofread. All of these things can be answered by that very last thing at the bottom, which says read aloud. So one of my favorite tools that I always tell students is pick up your essay, and even if you're in the room by yourself, read it out loud, because when you do that, you'll not only hear if there are any errors, but you'll be able to say, does that sound like me? Does that sound like my voice? You'll be able to catch if it is too big of words. Maybe you use the thesaurus a little too much and it's not a word you would normally use. So just make sure when you're reading aloud your essay that it sounds like you, the way you would talk. You know, obviously you're writing, but really we want it to sort of reflect your personality, and maybe not your parents or your teachers that have helped you, but just truly yourself and your voice. So that's my last word of wisdom. Thank you.
All right. Wow. Thank you so much, everyone. This was a really comprehensive look at the application, and I got a lot out of it, and I hope you all did too. It is time for questions right now. And so if you are on Zoom, you'll see there's a Q&A box that you can type in your questions. If you are joining us through YouTube, you can also use the chat box there, and we will make sure it's delivered. 그리고 지금은 이제 문의 시간인데 한국어로도 쓰실 수 있습니다. 그래서 한국어로 쓰시면 우리가 번역해서 사정관들에게 드리겠습니다. Okay, so it looks like we have a question here. Specifically, I think it relates back to the activities list. So the question is, how about awards and recognitions? I know that there's a special part in the application, but is that where it should be included or elsewhere? And how important is it in your evaluation?
If you've won an award and had recognition, you should definitely let us know that. That's kind of tied to when I was talking about if you're an athlete and you have measurable results, or you've received musical certifications or anything like that. It helps us evaluate your talent. So put that in your activities section. I didn't mention resumes. For most students, a resume is not necessary. The activities section is enough to capture the general overview of what you've done. But if you have a lot of accomplishments, then I would definitely include those there in a resume. But if your accomplishments are of an academic nature, let's say you scored very high on some type of a national exam, or you won some type of academic award, there is a separate place for you to put academic honors. So the activity section is for things that are outside the classroom, but we do want to know about academic honors that you have had as well. And it might be that a resume is a place for you to put more information about that, but don't tell us everything. If you tell us everything and you go back earlier than 3 years, we're going to lose the really important recent things if you start telling us everything that happened when you were 10 and giving us so many details. So you need to be strategic.
Great. Question about the essay, and I think this was talked about in previous Tuesday talks, but I guess there's a question about why do admissions officers want to know who I am so much beyond my academic achievements? How does that factor in the application process?
Well, I think, for the essay section and for your entire application, I think Shah talked about this quite a lot too, is that it's not just an exam for entry for, especially for our types of schools, liberal arts and science colleges, but in the US, specifically for our schools, we're residential campuses. So our learning happens not only in our classrooms, but outside of our classrooms. It's a residential education. So what you do in the classroom is one level of learning. What you learn from your peers, what you learn through your extracurriculars, what you bring to the campus and share, all of that is an extension of the learning. And so the essay, the activities, all of that gives us a window in terms of how you'll fit in on our campuses. So how you'll engage, how you'll connect with our community and with our students. So we care about you as a whole person and not just a passive learner in our classroom. And so that is why the essay, the activities, all of that is important for us to look at, because it gives us a sense of who you'll be on our campus and how you'll connect to our students and how we can support you in terms of your interests and your goals for the future.
Great. That's a question here, and it's a reoccurring question actually in our Tuesday talks about how should one package themselves? And so there's been students that say, I'm a sciencey student. Should I just always talk about my love for science, or do I need to talk about, the variety of interests that I have beyond science? So, the question really is, I think the question is, how do I package who I am truly? Or do I need to package myself in a certain direction, in a certain way?
I'll take that one if nobody else wants to. I think part of the answer to that question depends a little bit upon where you're applying. So if you are applying to an institute of technology, then you need to make sure that they really understand what you've done in the field of science, research that you've done, experiments, things that you've built, things like that. But I think those places are still interested in bringing people to their campuses that also have lives outside of those particular academic interests. So that's something I think most of you are probably working with some type of a counselor, and I would ask that person for guidance based on where you're applying. But I can say with real confidence that if you're applying to a liberal arts college or university, we absolutely want to see you as a very multidimensional person. The students whose applications just keep reinforcing one thing may be impressive in that they've achieved a lot, but they don't interest us as much in terms of who you might be as part of our community, because we would see you as bringing a very narrow lane or path to our campus that has, we all have over 100 clubs and activities, and we want people to get involved in those. And if we don't have some physicists who also like to dance, or some economists who also like to tinker in our makerspace, it's not going to be as interesting a campus. So we do like to see, more of what you're about.
I think I'll jump in here though too, and I'd say your application should reflect who you are. If you're all in hacking and computer science and development, and that's what you're doing, then your application should reflect that. You shouldn't feel like again, to Amy's point, being thoughtful about where you're applying based on your interests and your experiences. But I don't think students going out and creating activities that show dimension that they're not interested in is definitely not where they should go or spend their time. If you've done, all of the online courses you can take in a certain type of programming, and then, you know, done the hackathons or, you know, experience in that, then your resume and your application should reflect that interest as well. But to build on Amy's point, then maybe your essay can come through to show us a window that is a different side of you, whether it's just about your relationship with your family or something different as well.
I want to add too, I think to Amy and Nicole's point too, I think don't just think what do the colleges want to see on my application, but also what is important to you, right? You want to sound authentic and you want to find a place that you will be successful and you will be happy, right? You don't want to be this person that is really not you on your application and you get into the school that really is not the right fit for you. And then you get there and realize, wow, this is really not who I am. This is not really where I belong. So it's really very much a two-way street. It's kind of like dating. You want to find the right person for you and for that person, right? So it's, again, a very two-way street. Make sure you're thinking not just what colleges want to see, because you probably don't know, but you know who you are. That is what you absolutely know. And make sure you are also presenting in an authentic way that is really who you are.
There are more questions, kind of very in the similar vein. And so, I mean, is it right, I think, to say that really it's about authenticity. It's about don't pretend to be someone else, showcase who you are. If you have numerous interests, then showcase that. If it doesn't all fit in the activities list, then talk about it in the essay. If you're kind of more, you've got your nose down in one particular area, great. You know, that's fine too. And make that known in the application, but don't feel like you have to show a certain side of you only. Would that be the correct thing to say, admissions officers?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Great. There are questions about SATs. And so I'll simply ask it this way. What does optional SAT scores really mean?
I think, again, you really have to check the language, right? I think different colleges do it in a very different way. Some say it's completely optional. Some say it's strongly recommended, right? That means different things than completely optional. So again, really depends on the school. And then if you want to apply a certain college, you're really not sure what they mean by their language. Maybe you're confused by their language on the website, reach out to admissions counselors. I hope we all did a good job, that we are people who are friendly, who are approachable, that we want to help you in the process. So again, if you have any specific questions about a certain college, of their policy on ICT or an SAT, reach out to us and we're happy to talk.
Great. I want to add to that, one of the other kind of buzzwords that you may be seeing is this idea of test blind. So looking at your question as well of, if I'm going to submit my test scores, are they going to be considered? That's an important thing to recognize, that the school that you're applying to reviews their applicants in this test blind policy, which means that even if you are not submitting, even if you are submitting your scores, will they be looked at? At what point in the review process are they looked at? Are they evaluated at the same time that every other aspect of my application is reviewed? Are they looked at later? So that may be something that you want to dive into as well. I know that there are students that will be submitting their scores, that are very proud of their scores, that want those to be seen and recognized in that initial review. So that is definitely another question to ask when you do follow up with those schools you're applying to.
All right. Early on in the presentation, there was talk about responding to COVID and how each of your institutions responded to that, especially for international students. Would like some of you to just explain a little bit more in depth about how that went about, and how, especially for international students, how your international students were taken care of on your respective campuses.
I think, you know, one of the things to start with in campuses like ours, so the 4 schools you're seeing here, is that in a time of crisis or not, we're small campuses, liberal arts and science, residential campuses. And the reason students choose our campuses is because of the relationships they have not only with other students, but with our professors and with our staff. They're well cared for. You know, when we have one student per every 10, 15 professors, people know you as a person, not just a number or a face in the classroom. And so when bad things happen or difficult things happen, you already have a support network built in. We already have a system built in our campuses to take care of our students, and specifically our international students. And I think that's the reason a lot of our students choose our campuses and stay at our campus, is because not only do they have our international student services advisor that helps them through things like OPT or taxes or dealing with immigration questions, but when things go wrong, you are a valuable part of our community as international students. And we already have built in sort of how we function as schools to take care of you and to be thoughtful and caring. So, you know, our schools did things like offering financial assistance to those who needed it to be able to return home, offering the ability to help you find a place to stay or transition home. So if that path was difficult for students to leave the US, how do we help them? Allowing our students to stay on campus in ways that were sustainable when possible, so that they can have a safe space to continue some of the work that they're doing. Every campus responded, I think, in this group a little differently, but all similar in that we were incredibly responsive to our students. How can we help? We continue to talk with our students, even now that they're back in their home countries, or if they're on our campuses. We continue to talk to them to say, how are things going? What do you need? We hear that you're stressed, and checking in with them from multiple offices to say, how can we support you? And so I think that's why you choose a place like ours versus a large institution, beyond just looking at you know, the classroom sizes and things like that. It's just the amount of care that comes with being at a small residential college that comes with who we are. And, you know, not to say that the large institutions aren't caring. I think they very much are. It's just built in terms of our capacity as small schools, the way that we are able to sort of nurture our students in a different way.
Great. Well, we are coming to the end of the hour. So before we close, I would like to allow each of our panelists to say any closing words for our students and counselors that are tuned in today.
I can start. So again, I think I can speak for all of us, or maybe all the liberal arts colleges in the United States, that we are a very welcoming place for you, especially for international students. And we have a diverse campus, and we're welcoming, and we really care of your personal growth, your academic life, and also your personal life as well. So definitely, I think international students population is certainly the priority here. We certainly care about them, and we definitely want to provide as much as we can to make sure this is a good place for students to live, to study, and to grow.
Great. And I think just to add on to that, as Shia kind of mentioned earlier in the presentation, we are not shy. We are very happy to give out our contact information and to really be a point of support for you through this journey. So please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions about our institutions, or just generally follow-up information that we can share on applying to colleges in the US, what it means to be a liberal arts student. And we're also happy to facilitate any types of connections that you need. So perhaps we're not the right person to answer your question. You want to talk to someone, a faculty member in our department. You want to talk to a current student or an alumnus. We know the right person for you. So we're always happy to build those connections and help you gain your network of support early on in your college admissions search and journey as well.
I'll just say good luck. Really, if you're true to yourself, and if you follow the guidelines that you've been given and you prepare carefully and you put together a list of places to apply, some of which maybe your scores and your grades line up nicely, others that are a bit of a reach, and a few that you feel pretty confident about, you're going to come out the other end with options. And so really present yourself as if you were wanting to make sure somebody understands what you value, who you are, what you've accomplished, without trying to think, what do they want to know about me? Tell us what you know about yourself. And then your application will feel more authentic. And in a highly competitive process, that can be something that distinguishes you a little bit from someone who just sort of overpackaged their essay and tried to use every strategy in the book.
My words of wisdom are what I said before. Who am I? That's what we're getting at. You're looking to go to the US to sort of do the big who am I always honor international students who come to the United States, because every time I leave the US, I learn so much about myself by learning and growing through others. And you're applying to the United States for an amazing education, but also a different type of education. And so the application reflects that different education. And we want to start you on the process of the who am I. We're excited to get to know who you are and enjoy lots of animated films on the way. So thank you all for taking the time today.
Great. And as a former international student myself to the US, I want to echo that everything you heard here, I couldn't agree anymore, that it truly is, you're on a journey of self-exploration, and it really does start very significantly at the application process. So take advantage of it, have fun with it. Don't feel like you have to, force upon a certain part of who you are, or actually who you're not. I hope you have fun with the application process. If you want to rewatch this talk, please do. It'll be on YouTube and also on the Initial View website, because there are tons of great advice here in this presentation today. And to reiterate, our admissions officers and their desire to connect with you, their email addresses are right here. So please do reach out with your questions, and their websites all have wonderful information. Their social media platforms. So take advantage of the time that you have more at home this summer, and just really delve in. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming in, tuning in every Tuesday. This will be our last Tuesday talks for this semester. We will take a short break, and we'll come back in the fall semester. So stay tuned. Check our website at initialview.com/Tuesday talks, or our social media platforms, including Instagram, to stay tuned for the schedule for the upcoming semester. And so on that note, I would like to say a big thank you to Nicole, Amy, Amanda, and Xue. Thank you all for being here today, very early in the morning in the US, and for imparting your wisdom and your knowledge with us. 감사합니다. 다음에 또 뵙겠습니다. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.